Hi, Trig class. This is your teacher talking, and I've got the date right on it today. I didn't yesterday. The period is how long it takes a graph to repeat itself. The period of sine, which we'll look at on the calculator in a minute, is 360 degrees. We saw that yesterday. The amplitude is basically how high it goes. And you get it by going the highest minus the lowest divided by 2. Regular graph of y equals sine x. I am pretty sure I'm in degrees. I go to zoom trig number 7. And as it goes back and forth, what you have happening right here is from here to here is 360 degrees. And you'll notice every 360 degrees it repeats itself. So its period is 360. The highest it goes is 1. The lowest it goes is -1. So the amplitude is 1 minus -1. And it does this. It's the negative 1 minus -1. And then divided by 2. So obviously it is 2. 2 divided by 2. It is obviously 1. I'm not going to re-record that. Now, remember what we've learned before, or if you didn't learn it before. This was Mr. Malky's brilliant idea. It still works. Outside things behave as they should, and it's vertical things. You climb trees, bounce balls, dig holes, and go in holes. Outside is vertical things. You do what you're supposed to. Inside, you do the exact opposite. If you're asked to go left, you go right. If they say stretch it, you compress it. If you want these notes, please just press pause. So now I'm going to look at this graph. Y equals 3 sine of x. So I go y equals, I hit the right button here, I go y equals, and I'm going to insert a 3. I don't need to go to the zoom trig again. And you will notice the graph goes up, higher, down, higher. So what happens? It still takes a period of 360, that doesn't change, but it goes up to 3 and down to 3. So what happens here is you get a amplitude of 3, and the period is still 360. Cool. So now we're going to go to 0.5x. So I'm going to go y equals, I'm going to delete that, 0.5 sine x. That's the natural log. 0.5, got to hit sin of x. It's outside. It's going to do what it's supposed to. And you will notice it just goes up to a half, down to a half, up to a half, down to a half. The period, it still takes 360 to repeat itself, but the amplitude has now become 0.5 and the period is still the same. Now, you will notice that the 2 is inside, in between the sin and the x. That is considered inside. I'm going to go y equals the sine of 2x, close it down, no, 2x like this, 2x like this. When I look at this graph, you would think 2 would stretch it out. It takes twice as long, but no, no, no. Instead of making it twice as long a period, it cuts it in half. You'll notice it just takes 180 degrees for it to repeat. So whereas you would think it would make the period longer, it makes it shorter. The amplitude is 1, and the period has now stretched or shrunk down to 360 divided by 2, or 180. And finally, sine equals 1/3 of x. Sine equals 1/3 of x. So I'm going to go right here, and I'm going to go 1 divided by 3. I'm going to close that parenthesis of x to make that 1/3 as it is. And now you will notice that I did something wrong. Oh, I know what I did wrong. Okay. I need a double parenthesis. I got a second insert, another parenthesis. I need to make this 1/3 in parentheses and the x. My bad. So now this is all inside. And now the graph will go, and if we would stretch it out, you will notice it now takes, instead of 360, if you'd end up looking from one end to the other, it would be 160 and times 3. So the amplitude, oh my goodness. The amplitude is 1 and the period it takes it times 3 is 540 degrees. Cool.